Welcome back to Morning Joy, where truth matters. I'm your host, Keith Downey, and on this Next Right Thing segment, we got Debbie Georgianni and Adam Blai talking about the Jubilee Year of Hope. Good morning, Debbie and Adam.
Oh, thank you so much, Keith. Yep, we're still in the octave of Christmas, and Adam, we're going to be talking about building those holy, healthy habits because we're coming up on, we just entered the Jubilee year on, Christmas Eve? Did it start Christmas Eve? Yeah, the Jubilee year, the Jubilee of Hope, and it's an amazing celebration for us as Catholic Christians. And so it started already, but I know a lot of people are still at home with their Christmas activities, and that's very, very important. But people are going to be planning next year maybe a special pilgrimage or a special event that they're going to go to a holy site, a shrine or something of that nature. But we really wanted to go over building these beautiful holy habits so that you're in the proper place meaning the proper disposition to be receptive to all these graces and to enter in fully, so you don't have any blocks. Nothing's blocking you, right, Adam?
Yeah. So, what we're building up to, and some people may not have heard this yet, but on Christmas Eve, Pope Francis started a special Jubilee Year, a Holy Year, centered around hope. And in order to spiritually benefit from that, we need to basically be spiritually squared away. We need to be in a state of grace. We need to have received communion, gone to confession, received communion, be in a state of grace, pray for the Pope's intentions, and then participate in what is linked to the Plenary Indulgence. Okay, I know that's a lot. But in order to build up to that, see, one thing that happens is at Christmas and Easter typically for people, it's a little easier to carve out the time to make it to Mass, to put out the extra effort and go participate in the faith. Because, one, you're on holiday, so you don't have to go to work, right? So you have some more free time. Everybody's doing it. It's expected. If your family's Christian, Catholic Christian, it's expected. You're going with the flow. But now, as we're moving, for most people, back into regular life, even though we're still in the 8-day octave feast of Christmas, in a practical way, we're moving back into regular life. Now, how do you keep that going? How do you think about, I got to get in a state of grace and stay in a state of grace. And, I've got to go to confession again and make sure I've received communion on the day that I'm pursuing this plenary indulgence. And so what does that plenary indulgence mean again? And all these things and then it's like, I'll just give up. Well, there's some basic things that we've gone over in the past, and they kind of come out of life coaching and psychology and of course, some from the church's experience. And there's these practical tips we want to share with you as you're maybe thinking about improving your spiritual life this year, building some better holy habits. So a few things, and these are true of all habits, like trying to exercise, these New Year's resolutions, all of that. Number one, you need to take it in small steps, not huge steps. So don't expect to go from 0 to I'm living like Padre Pio on December 26th, and I'm going to maintain that for 365 days. You're biting off more than you can chew. It's too radical of a change in your life. We only have so many free minutes and so much free energy to work with each day because we have a lot of demands on our life. Most of us do. So we need to be strategic. So we need to carve out a goal that is small enough that it's attainable in a short period of time. It's measurable, so we can say, I know I met my goal because I made it to Mass 4 times this month. Like if my goal was I looked at the calendar and I looked at the number of Sundays, if we look at January, we're going to see that there's 4 Sundays in January. And if I say, okay, my goal is I'm going to at least make it to those 4. That's measurable, it's attainable, it's something I can do. And then I apply myself to it. I don't say I'm going to make it to every Sunday for the whole year, because now it emotionally and mentally it becomes like a mountain that I'm like, oh, I'm tired just thinking about it. How am I going to do it? I know there's going to be a day I can't make it. If we make it attainable and doable, we have these short goalposts where we can meet that goal, that's going to give us a burst of confidence and energy to keep moving. What do you think?
I completely agree. And, just so our Morning Joy listeners know, this is a little bit of a preview of what we're going to be discussing in depth tomorrow on the spirit world. We're going to cover, looking forward to the new year with going spiritually deep. That's what we're doing next year because of this Jubilee Year of Hope. Okay, so we're going to be talking about this for the entire hour. We're going to have the phones open so you can call in. That's 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern. But we're giving you a little preview for our Morning Joy listeners so that you can get a head start, a jump start to this, because it's very important that we, especially during this octave of Christmas, Adam, there is an abundance of graces during this octave. We know that. And so it's truly important for our listeners who take their spiritual lives seriously. This is the time right now during this octave to go deep. Go deep now. Don't wait, because if you wait, let me tell you what usually happens. We used to see this in religious education all the time. People have good intentions about their spiritual life. They have really good intentions. If you sit down with them and you talk to them, they'll say, I want to get to heaven. I want to work my way to heaven. I want to pray more. I want to go to mass more. I want to do all the things. I want to go to receive the sacraments. But the longer you wait, okay, it becomes easier to forget.
Right.
And that's right now you've got this abundance, this surge of graces right now during this octave of Christmas. Take spiritual advantage of it. What do you say to that?
Yeah. Yeah. And what you're getting at there is something it's really important to get our minds around. We are always building habits. Now, your habit might be to be passive and not do anything, and that's a habit of being stagnant, right? Of not moving and doing things. That itself is a habit. So, typically the research on this, the data on this in the psychological literature, it ranges a little bit, but it is typically at least 4 to 6 weeks of something new in your life on a daily basis. It doesn't have to be huge. Maybe it's practicing the guitar for 10 minutes every day. It doesn't have to be huge, but it has to be daily. It is typically 6 to 8, for some people even more, weeks before it starts becoming something that is just part of your day. You don't have to force yourself to do it. It doesn't feel like I'm pushing to do this and, I've got to go do that. It's kind of like brushing your teeth. It's just part of the morning, doesn't take any energy. It doesn't really take much thought. It's just become part of your life. For something to just become part of your life, like praying the rosary every day, would be similar. You're going to have to keep it up consistently daily for 6 to 8, maybe 10 or 12 weeks. Now, in the grand scheme of things, that's not a long time. But when you're first starting, it takes a little bit of work. And that's why we're talking about attainable and doable goals, not huge goals.
Right. Baby step it. Mm-hmm.
Baby steps. But remember, if you, like you said, Deb, it's easier and easier to drift and not do it the more you don't do it, because we think of habits in the positive sense of, I'm running every morning, so I'm building the habit to run. But if I'm not running, I'm building the habit to sit at home and not do anything. I'm still building a habit. It's just a negative one.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So our minds work this way. So you're kind of managing yourself. You can think of it that way. If you think of I'm life coaching myself. If I see myself from the outside, what do I see myself doing? What do I see myself failing to do that I wish I was doing? And like Paul says about sin, I don't do the things I should do, and I do the things I know I shouldn't do. And it's frustrating for Paul, and it's frustrating for all of us, because that's human nature. But we need that little bit of energy that we get from popping those goals. That's the term in cognitive psychology, is popping the goal. When we attain it, we get this little burst of dopamine and energy in our brains and say, aha, I did it. And that gives us a little boost to do it again. And so this is the time right after Christmas to not drop the spiritual ball and start doing a little bit every day.
That's right. Have your habits work for you spiritually rather than against you. You know, there's so many habits we pick up and we just get used to them. They're just like baggage we carry along with us. You don't have to do that. Create those new habits, like you said, Adam, in small ways, but that you can really celebrate the successes of those. So that's what we're talking about today. It's very important. And Adam and I were so committed to making sure we journey with everyone that listens to Morning Joy and also to the spirit world, that we just want to go deeper this particular Jubilee year that just started on Christmas Eve. And the Holy Father has asked us to enter into this year deeply, and we're going to do that. And so we are dedicating so many of the shows to it. Really, it's a life coaching journey with the radio shows, which is wonderful because it gives you that free life coaching, and you can benefit from it and just take it into your homes, spread it to your families, spread it to your parish community. If you're a catechist, bring it into the formation classes. Very important that we continue this so that everybody has a chance to build those healthy, holy habits.
Yeah. And here's the beautiful thing about the spiritual version of habits that we're talking about. It's not just us. It's not just us saying, oh, I need to lose a few pounds. I've got to, get up and do push-ups and sit-ups early in the morning, that kind of thing. When we're engaging in spiritual habits, God is right there.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So God shows up, and here's the thing. This is my point. We often think like, oh, I want to get to the point where I'm praying the rosary really well, and I hope I'm going to reach some point of pursuing holiness, and I picture somebody I know that's really holy, and I'm like, oh, I want to reach that spiritual goal. We actually don't have to worry about that. What we need to do is do the basics every day, and God shows up and infuses grace into us, and those spiritual goals happen on their own. Right. We don't make them happen. They're all grace. And so our part is to do our part. Go to Mass, go to confession, pray the rosary. God does the rest.
Amen to that. Oh, well, we'll come back for the last segment, and we'll give our listeners just kind of a better understanding of the Jubilee year. So we'll send it to Keith, and he'll flip it back to us.
All righty. Thank you so much, Debbie and Adam. And you're listening to Morning Joy, where truth matters. I'm your host, Keith Downey. And if you are just joining us right now, we've been talking about developing holy habits right in time for the octave of Christmas and the Jubilee Year of Hope. It's a big deal. Only happens really every 25 years. And I would say the biggest takeaway so far, baby steps. Just like Adam Blai mentioned, don't try to live immediately like Padre Pio. For instance, one of my goals this coming year is really to try to attend at least one additional Mass during the week consistently. I think that's the big key, consistency. So that's what I'm going to be doing. And hey, if you're in the live chat, let us know. Maybe you have some things that you're going to be doing this coming year. But yeah, coming up next, we're continuing the conversation of building these healthy, holy habits and just a better understanding of this Jubilee year. Coming up right after this break on Morning Joy, where truth matters.
You're listening to Morning Joy, where truth matters.
Welcome back to Morning Joy, where truth matters. I'm your host, Keith Downey, and on the final segment of Friday's edition of The Next Right Thing, we're talking about building healthy, holy habits, and of course, a better understanding of the Jubilee Year of Hope with Debbie Georgianni and Adam Blai. Take it away.
Jubilee Year of Hope. I love that, Adam. And hope is a good thing. We need to hold on to hope, and it's important. We do know that with the COVID interruption, there was a lot of people that lost hope, and that's not a good thing. So having this intense focus for this Jubilee year being on hope, and we are pilgrims on a journey. I know that the Vatican is going all out to make sure that we can enter in some way, depending on what level we are at a adopting the faith. They're trying to make sure that they tap all the sources there so that we can really enter into this Jubilee year in a very deep and personal way. So I would encourage our listeners, go to the USCCB site, United States Conference of Catholic Bishops .org. That's the website. There's always going to be information there. There's other information and resources coming out through EWTN. It's a great trusted place for you to go to find out what pilgrimages things are happening, and then people are doing their own things, that they're getting together and they're trying to make sure that they somehow bring in the Jubilee year to their lives. So that's a good thing. But let's talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So this Jubilee Year of Hope just started on Christmas Eve, and Pope Francis opened something called the Holy Door at St. Peter's. Now, there's actually holy doors at a number of the major cathedrals, basilicas, churches around Rome. There's a number of them there. Well, what's a holy door? It's a big ornate door at St. Peter's, physically huge, beautiful, has bas-relief on them and just gorgeous. But interestingly, it is cemented, sealed from the inside in such a way that it cannot physically be opened. Now, every 25 years, typically in the Church's history, every 25 years, they'll have a holy year where they will chisel away this cement and they will unlock the door, and then the Pope himself will open the door at the beginning of one of these holy years. And then at the end of the holy year, he will close it and it will be re-cemented and sealed for another generation. Now, why do they do this? They do it every 25 years so that each physical generation of humanity has the chance, assuming, they live that long. It's 25 years is a good kind of guesstimate for getting the most people to be able to participate in this at least once in their lifetime. So it's a really beautiful thing where the Church essentially says, once in your life at least, this is going to happen. If you live long enough, you might see it twice. But these holy years where they open these doors are very special, is what I'm saying. So think of it as a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Like, here we are, we got a once-in-a-lifetime thing going on. Beautiful. Now, what they're linked to is a plenary indulgence, and that means a complete indulgence for time in purgatory. And really briefly, super briefly, the Cliff's Notes on purgatory for people that don't understand it is when we die with some attachment to sin that is still there. Even if we've gone to confession, we've confessed it, we still have an attachment to sin. And that's also talked of in terms of a temporal component connected with the sin. Like, there's a certain amount of spiritual work and healing to be completely pure, because we need to be utterly pure and free from all attachment to sin to be in the beatific vision with God. So purgatory is a time of purification. We're going to make it to heaven. We've passed our personal judgment, but we're not perfect, and we need to be completely perfect to be before God. That's what purgatory is. The Church has been given the power to give out the graces of indulgences to speed or completely finish that process, and that's what these plenary indulgences are for.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. One thing I want our listeners to remember about the Jubilee year is that there is an emphasis on the sacrament of reconciliation and restoring the relationship with God. So it's very important that we understand that, and you're tapping into that, Adam, and with the plenary indulgences. But I want to just make sure that our listeners understand this, because people may not be able to travel to Italy, but they can go to the sacrament of reconciliation and still practice the same things that other people are doing on these major pilgrimages. I don't want people to feel left out. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And here's the thing. So the last formal Holy Year was John Paul II in the year 2000 did a formal Holy Year like this. And the doors, by the way, and our senior producer, Tim, had put in the chat, whether they have been opened at other times. I do believe they have been opened at other times, but those aren't the formal holy years.
Yes, that is correct, because I was there in Italy when they were open. Okay.
Yeah, and so sometimes there's special occasions outside of this once-a-generation Holy Year where they will open them, because there are other things that are linked to these doors besides this. So what I was getting at was, in most countries, I think all, but I would say most, certainly here in the United States, they will designate other doors here in the United States that you can go and get the plenary indulgence at. So, for instance, for us, the last time the holy doors were opened in Rome, for us in Pittsburgh, it was allowed via the USCCB and then our bishop that if you went to the cathedral, our cathedral here, and went through a particular door at the cathedral, you would receive the same grace of a plenary indulgence as if you had gone to Rome. So it counts as a pilgrimage. It's just right here. And I think most, probably all, bishops do something similar in your diocese. Don't feel that you have to make it to Rome for this.
Right. And I'm just looking here online, and it just says on a quick search, the Holy Doors of St. Peter's Basilica in Rome was last opened on December 8th, 2015 by Pope Francis. This opening marked the start of the Catholic Church's Year of Mercy. So various years and various high points of the Church, the doors have been opened.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the popes can do whatever they want, right? So, they can designate years outside of the traditional 25-year spans.
Right. But this Jubilee year is a big thing because it's really going worldwide. Yeah. So it's a great opportunity. You do need to be, in a state of grace. You need to have received communion, gone to confession. Pray for the Holy Father's intentions. Those are the typical conditions for receiving the indulgence. And there's just graces in general through making this journey either to your local cathedral, if that's how your bishop does it. If you happen to be able to go to Rome, that's great. Right. There are graces beyond the plenary indulgence of just that participation in the Church's Year of Hope. And I was always told during these special years that we have designated in the Church, if you do anything outside of the ordinary, your ordinary routine, you make an extra effort somehow, there's graces associated with that. So there's been a lot of priests that have said, just make the extra effort. It's very important.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yep. And this, being a year of hope, it fits with what we've been talking about for a number of days here on the show. And that, this is a year of hope also for yourself, for your own journey to heaven, for your loved one's journey to heaven, for all of us. So this is a year to be hopeful about your spiritual life and to move forward.
And don't forget to tune in tomorrow on The Spirit World. We're going to go in depth on the Jubilee year and about looking ahead to the 2025 year for yourself, and so that you can make it your best year yet. So please tune in 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern. We are taking phone calls. And so, Adam, let's continue to get strong and healthy. We're still fighting a little bit. We're a little bit under the weather, but thanks for all the prayers to everyone, and Merry Christmas to everyone. We'll see you tomorrow on The Spirit World.
All righty. Thank you so much, Debbie and Adam. And if you were on social media for the last couple of weeks, you probably saw some of the news outlets talking about these doors, the Jubilee of the Year of Hope. And they were talking about, these 5 sacred portals. And people saw the word portals and immediately thought something like sci-fi or something completely unrelated. And it's just kind of humorous how people are so just misunderstanding of the Catholic faith. But yes, to talk about that and more on the Spirit World tomorrow, that's 10 a.m. Central this coming Saturday. And they're going to be talking about prioritizing our spiritual health, trying to make 2025 our best year yet. And they've mentioned it before. They're going to have a challenge for us all to help focus our mind, body, and spirit. And you can find them on all the major podcast platforms. Just search The Spirit Worlds, or you can live stream them and get to see them, similar to Morning Joy here. And you can watch them on Facebook, Rumble, YouTube, even Instagram and TikTok. My goodness, they're everywhere. But yes, coming up next, join us with Julie Carrick. We're exploring the beauty of the different Christmas masses here on Morning Joy, where truth matters.
You're listening to Morning Joy, where truth matters.